Hello everyone and welcome to the 100th episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young and I wanted to give some background as to how this segment started and my background in sports. Back in January of 2022, ideas were being thrown around for new segments to add to the This Day morning show. Someone suggested adding a spot every week to discuss current events in sports. I played sports my entire life, but I have been the biggest fan of all sports for as long as I can remember, mainly the Denver Broncos if you couldn't tell by my previous episodes. I was then a part of sports broadcasting team in college all 4 years while at Boise State University. Sports are something that I spend probably 90% of my free time discussing, watching, and researching anyway, so it only made sense to spend some time on camera each week talking about the things I already love to talk about. The show started as a quick 2 to 3 minute spot to air between segments on the Friday This Day shows and has blossomed into a full 10 to 12 minute episode every week. I've covered everything from the major 4 leagues to fishing to the Olympics and literally everything in between. So for this special 100th episode, I figured I'd throw together some of the best stories from the past 100 episodes. I decided that it was only fitting to pick the stories where I covered the best part about sports, and that's teams winning championships. Another one of my favorite parts of doing this Sports Corner was the period of time where I started doing outros, where I would just do progressively more odd things to close the segment. Myself and Mark Weiss, who directs this show, would come up with new ideas every week, mainly just to make ourselves laugh. At the end of the episode, I threw in some of my favorite bits from the past 2 years. Thank you to everyone involved in creating and supporting this show, and to everyone who has watched and stuck with me for the past 100 episodes. I look forward to the next 100, and I'll see you next time. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Sports Corner with Cole. I'm Cole Young, and I'll be bringing you sports updates and previews weekly here on This Day. It has been just about a week since the Los Angeles Rams became Super Bowl champions, and what an incredible game it was. Before we get into that, I do have to pat myself on the back just a little bit here, as my first ever prediction on this show was correct. If you tuned in last week, I predicted the Rams would win at home due to a surge of defense and pass rush. I will admit, there was a few points in the game where I thought the Bengals would take the win. But not many people could have predicted what happened in the second half. In sports, momentum is a strange thing. It's not something tangible, but it's a feeling that everyone, fans, players, coaches, can all feel. In the second half, Kansas got hot at the right time. The Jayhawks were down by as many as 16 points, and then the momentum kicked in. Kansas would go on a 12-1 run out of halftime. They could miss no shots, and their defense was stopping essentially everything. Everyone, myself included, can feel the tide beginning to shift. With just a few seconds left in the game, Kansas was leading 72-69. Even when all seemed over, UNC still had a glimmer of hope. Kansas had gone out of bounds after the inbound pass, giving North Carolina possession with just seconds remaining. UNC inbounded the pass, the tying shot was taken as the buzzer sounded, and the ball missed wide left, sealing the victory for Kansas. This game will go down in the record books as this was the single largest comeback in the history of the national championship game. The drought is officially over as the Colorado Avalanche won their first Stanley Cup in over 2 decades. The Avalanche were up 3-1 entering Game 5 and had a chance to secure the victory at home and bring home the cup. However, Tampa Bay was able to stay alive after winning Game 5 and bringing the series to 3-2. Fear and anxiety began to settle in for Colorado fans because in the past 3 years, Colorado has entered the playoffs as strong contenders to win it all, but in 3 straight years, they would not make it past the second round. They would not let this opportunity slip and would secure the victory in Game 6, however. Unfortunately, and those of you that had to suffer through this game know what I'm going to say next, this was one of the biggest blowouts in football history, making it a painfully boring game. The Georgia Bulldogs became back-to-back champs, earning their second straight national title after putting up a record-setting 65 points against TCU. The Horned Frogs came into this game as a huge underdog, and many experts thought they could continue their magical run and upset the reigning champions. That was very much not the case. Early on, Georgia went up 10-0. TCU showed some fight after scoring and making the game 10-7, but it quickly became 17-7, and then 24-7, and then before we knew it, it was 65-7. I'm Cole Young, and for the first time in history, the Denver Nuggets are NBA champions. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray proved to be a duo that no opponent could contain this postseason. They're the first pair of teammates in NBA history to average 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in a single postseason. Coming again as a surprise to no one, Jokic was named the NBA Finals MVP and topped the series off with a 28-point game. With their backs against the wall, the Miami Heat led the Nuggets for a majority of the game, But the final 2 minutes were mayhem, with the lead switching back and forth and back and forth. Finally, after a missed three-pointer by Jimmy Butler, a steal from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and one last missed effort by Butler, the Nuggets hoisted the Larry O'Brien Trophy for the first time in the team's 47-year history. There were a lot of weird parallels and coincidences between the NBA and NHL playoffs this season. Just like the Nuggets, the Las Vegas Golden Knights have now won their first ever Stanley Cup. In Game 5 on Tuesday, Captain Mark Stone scored a hat trick, and Nicholas Hagee, Alec Martinez, Riley Smith, Michael Amadio, Ivan Barbashev, and Nicholas Roy all added goals as the Knights defeated the Florida Panthers by a whopping 9-3. The Knights were founded back in 2017, and they're the second youngest team in the league behind the Seattle Kraken. They're just the second team in NHL history to win the Stanley Cup within the team's first 6 seasons. I'm Cole Young, and for the first time in history, the Texas Rangers are World Series champions. Game 5 was an absolute battle, with both Nathan Eovaldi of the Rangers and Zach Gallen of the Diamondbacks pitching lights out through the first 7 innings. Gallen allowed no hits for the Rangers until the 7th inning, and Eovaldi somehow fought his way out of a jam every single inning. Mitch Garver finally got the Rangers on the board with an RBI single in the 7th, and Marcus Semien put the game away with a 2-run homer in the 9th. The Rangers finished the greatest postseason in their history with an unprecedented 11-0 record on the road, including the title-clinching Game 5 Wednesday night. After 2 straight seasons with 100-plus losses in 2022, the Rangers convinced 3-time champion Bruce Bochy out of retirement to be their manager and spent about $500 million signing Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. It is very apparent that that was money well spent. This is where the excitement finally began to ramp up. After yet another 3-and-out drive by the Chiefs, the punt team came on. Tommy Townsend's punt soared back to the San Francisco 19-yard line, where it hit a 49ers player and became a live ball and a fumble. That fumble was recovered by Kansas City on the 16-yard line going into the end zone. It took just one play for Patrick Mahomes to find a wide-open Marquez Valdez-Scantling for a 16-yard score and the Chiefs' first lead of the game. With 2 minutes and 28 seconds remaining in the third quarter, the 49ers drove down the field on a 12-play, 75-yard drive that ended with a Brock Purdy to Juwan Jennings' 10-yard touchdown. Jennings joined Eagles quarterback Nick Foles 6 years ago as the only players to throw and catch a touchdown in a Super Bowl. After swapping field goals for the remainder of regulation, the score sat at 19-19 when the final buzzer hit 0, and that meant the game was headed to overtime. The 49ers went on another long, methodical drive to start overtime, eating up just about 8 minutes off the clock. They couldn't manage to find the end zone, however, and had to settle for 3 points. With the score at 22-19, it was time for Patrick Mahomes to take the field and finish another legacy drive. Mahomes did exactly what he does best, taking the Chiefs' offense 75 yards downfield, including a crucial 8-yard run on 4th down to keep their Lombardi Trophy hopes alive. To end the drive, Mahomes threw a 3-yard touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman in overtime, and the Chiefs rallied to beat the San Francisco 49ers 25-22, becoming the NFL's 9th repeat Super Bowl champs. The Chiefs are already setting their sights on becoming the first franchise in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Come right back next week for more news, updates, and highlights from all around the sports world. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. This has been Sports Corner with Cole. I'm Cole Young.